Welcome back to Browducation. We have Molly here again. Thank you for being here, Molly. I'm super excited for this little part 2 and a wrap up of season 3, which is so crazy.
Thank you
How
for
are you?
having me. I'm excited to be back.
Me too. So we're just going to dive in since everyone kind of already got their introductory of you in the first episode. I figured we can kind of just stay to like the meat of it, which is a little bit more fun. So
Yeah.
we'll just kind of dive right in. We kind of talked a little bit about like skincare basics and things like that last time, like your favorite ingredient. I think we talked about beta glucan. And so I wanted to go a little bit deeper. What are some subtle signs that a client's skin barrier is compromised that artists or beauty professionals, maybe new artists, might miss?
Okay. Yeah, that's a really good question. So, the first tip for me would be if they're complaining of like everything burning or itching or irritating their skin, even water sometimes.
Yeah.
Another thing that can happen is people will feel like they can use like whatever moisturizer it is, and it just feels like it doesn't do anything, whether it just soaks right in and disappears, or they'll complain like it feels like it's sitting on top of the skin and it's not doing anything. Those are all pretty good hints. And you can also oftentimes visually see an impaired barrier function. Sometimes it looks shiny, red, dehydrated. A trick that I know a lot of us use is just to like gently pinch the skin, kind of like so. And if you see those tiny little creepy wrinkles, it's a good sign that the skin is dehydrated and that, there needs to be some building and restoring of that barrier.
Definitely. I think those are all really great tips. It's kind of going on that same track. Is there like ingredients that clients might not realize are exfoliating their skin?
Oh my God, that's such a good one. Yeah, I think for the consumer, it is so confusing. We have lactic, which is a moisturizing acid, but it's also very exfoliating. And I think
Yeah.
either it gets underestimated or people don't really understand the full power of the exfoliation that they're doing when they're using a lactic. Let me think what else. Even vitamin C, it's not exfoliating, but it's very active, So you definitely want to be careful with that. And retinoids are going to increase cell turnover. So it's going to exfoliate your skin, so to speak, in a different way than alpha hydroxy acids or beta hydroxy acids, but you're still increasing that cell turnover. So yeah, it's tricky.
It is tricky. I think it's also like kind of information overload for the consumer. I feel
Yeah.
like
I don't know
it's
how
just a
anybody
lot.
does it unless they have like, I don't
You.
know. Yeah,
Nasty.
exactly.
Yeah,
It's
I
my
mean, even
full-time
like
job.
right? I know, and I think that the other thing that's crazy is like I know how overwhelming even learning a new skincare line or something like that, or even when they drop new products, it's like, oh, that's a lot for us to dive into. I can't even imagine going in blind to like Sephora or Ulta, or even the drugstore. There's so many options.
Yeah, let alone this is something that I wish I could warn every consumer about. 90% of what you see and read is marketing. So it's just tough to figure it out, let alone decipher what's marketing and
Navigate.
what's facts.
Yeah.
Also, then on top of that, you have your unique skin.
Mhm.
Um, it's just tough out
Which
there.
people
We all need an
underestimate.
esthetician.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I know. I think that the marketing world makes it a lot harder to understand, like you said, what's factual and what's not.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of leaning into that, are online skincare trends making your job harder? Do you feel like it's kind of something you've always dealt with? Is it more difficult nowadays over your 10 years in the industry?
Oh, it's a pendulum, I feel like.
That's a good way to put it.
There's been times when it's really rough, and then there's other times that I feel like my clients, um, are, just kinda, like, rising above. They're educated consumers.
Mhm.
Not everyone, but,
Yeah,
we some of them are really, like, straight A students, I call it. Like,
I like that.
go to me for everything, or they just kind of run it by me, or then they kinda, like, hone in on their own, um, critical thinking skills when it comes to the skin. I think it's not common knowledge to understand the anatomy of the skin and the structure of the skin and the histology and how it actually works, but sometimes I feel like when I've worked with a client for a really long time, they're able to decipher, like, the BS from the real stuff because they've just, learned so much as we've worked together, and that just brings so much joy to me. I do have some clients that are like, "Oh, I didn't wanna bother you, so I just asked ChatGPT," and I'm like, "Lord, help me." No, but whatever. I mean, you didn't burn your skin off, so it's fine.
Yeah, yeah,
But, like, don't
I
expect
know.
that to be the same.
Yeah, well, don't expect ChatGPT oh my god, whatever, chat to know as much as, like, intuitively as we do, you know? They're
No,
just
and I think there's more misinformation on there than there is factual, like, I don't know, I just always feel like it's incorrect.
yeah, so
Ask
it's
it a question that you know the answer to. Your mind will be blown.
yes, that's a good
It's
test.
I
I
am
think it
so
also leans
boycotting
into
it.
wanting to please you than it is, like, actually trying to give you
Ugh,
information. I feel like it's trying to cater to what you wanna hear, which I feel
yep.
like is very counterintuitive when you're trying to get an honest answer out of it.
It pisses me off. It feels like it's like an inauthentic friend that you have that's just, like, agreeing with everything that you say, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm over you. You're annoying me."
Yes, yes. No, you're like, let's have some sort of conflict
Yeah, exactly, like,
or
hold me
disagreement.
accountable.
Yeah,
You're being a
exactly.
doormat.
Now, kind of going on that same kind of we were talking about, like, the online trends and then, like, also compromise barrier. What do you think, like, what trends do you think are secretly damaging clients' skin barrier or causing other issues that may be common that you've seen?
Okay, I don't know if I haven't heard of beef tallow as much recently, but I'd say
Mhm.
that was, like, the most recent thing that really just, like, took the internet by storm for whatever reason.
Yeah, I don't know why that was so popular.
I can't yeah, and that's an example of a time when my clients are like, "Oh, I heard about this," and I'm like, "I thought I taught you better than that." Like, there's
Mhm.
no delivery systems, there's no you need a product to be stable and bioavailable for it to work, like, that's just putting grease on your face.
Yes,
Why would
I
that
think
what part of that makes you think that it's gonna be good for acne?
yes, I think that's a really good point though, because I think that when we're teaching, sometimes we talk about ingredients and we kind of just like miss the mark on what you just said, like the actual manufacturing and the delivery system and the formulation. Because I think beef tallow, from a consumer standpoint, doesn't sound scary, right? It's like it's just hydrating. It's not
It's
exfoliating. It's
natural,
not,
yeah.
yes, like it doesn't come across as something that could be harmful because, like,
Mhm.
of course we want more hydration. Like that doesn't seem like a red flag, but you're right. It has nothing to do with like that side of it and more about the delivery system and how it's like actually made.
Yeah.
Frustrating.
I know.
I'm surprised by how much that one, because I kind of thought that that one would stay in like farmers markets, you know what I mean? Like, made, but then I was surprised by how many like companies took it on and like started selling it as well. I was shocked by that.
I know. I'm hoping that it's done. I'm hoping that it's run its course. I mean, think about snail mucin. Remember that whole
Mhm.
craze? And I bring that up to my clients sometimes when they ask about this new like cure all ingredient. And I'm like,
Yes.
okay, remember snail mucin? And now think about how nobody's talking about it anymore. And
Yeah.
a good rule of thumb for the consumer to think about, or estheticians too, think about if it sounds too good to be true, it definitely is. There is not one
Mhm.
product or ingredient that's going to solve all of your problems, and if there was, I would be selling it. Trust me, this is my
Yes.
job. This is a
Why wouldn't we
business.
want that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, that's such a good point. I know, I had a client who got, like, an email and it's like it's always those marketing promises, right? Of just like, "I will solve all of your problems with this one ingredient or this one product," and it's just so
Yeah.
far from the truth. How can artists this is kind of pivoting a little bit, but how can artists professionally explain when they need to modify or cancel a service maybe based on it doesn't suit the client or if there's a contraindication or something's kind of arise that would make you do that?
Okay. I used to do this a lot more. If somebody like had maybe a sunburn or something that was contraindicating our service, but now I really try and have something in my back pocket that I can do on anybody. So I can offer them, well, I know it's different with brows because if they want like hair removal, like there's
Yeah.
no other way around that, but that's a tough one. I would try and
Mhm.
think of another option that you can give them so they don't feel like they didn't get anything, but
Yeah. No,
they
this is
should
another sorry. This is another reason I love threading so much and why I tell that waxers who should have threading in their arsenal, not to take over their whole business, but to have another option for when they can't do it. I think it's true. I think that instead of having to pivot or say no, we can just be like, "Oh, we don't this won't really work for you, but this will."
yeah, let's do this today and then next time when whatever.
Or like have a moment to educate them like, "Hey, this isn't going to work today, but like let me tell you
Yeah.
why and the next time we can."
Yeah, and then there's always those things, like a cold sore or like a true contraindication where it's not safe for them to have a service at all. I
Mhm.
don't know, I just think being honest, it is hard because 'cause I've had people with like, okay, let's use a cold sore, for example, and then it's like, "Okay, now I'm not getting paid because you didn't read your intake."
Well,
But
that's a good point. And it does happen, it's not some I mean,
yeah.
I think the problem is the more in particular our consultations and our intake forms get, we try to cover all the boundaries. It almost works in the opposite way where they don't read all of it anyways,
They
and
don't
you're
read
just
it.
like,
I know, I've learned that the hard way too. I think just, like, less is more, and
mhm,
kind of, like, to segue onto that too, I've just learned it's part of the business.
mhm,
Sometimes somebody shows up and you're not gonna be able to provide the service for them, or they don't show up, and it's just, you take it
same
as an
issue.
L for that day.
Mhm. I know, I think that's an interesting thing that I think newer artists take a little bit more to heart, and then you kind of become, I don't wanna say hardened, but you're just kind of, I mean, I don't even wanna say used to it either, but it is something that you do have to kind of get used to
Yeah.
in a in a
You're
in a
like,
way.
"On to the next one." Like, I have other clients today.
Or other things to do. I think that's another thing is that the longer you're in business, the more strategic you are with your time, so when something goes wrong, you're like, "Well, I have a whole to-do list," like, that we're not
Yeah,
getting nothing done.
yeah.
What is something that your opinion has changed on since becoming a little bit more experienced in your, 10 years doing this?
Yeah, so many things, Megs, like, I kid you not. I feel that when I first kinda went off on my own, I had some, like, and even in school, we're taught so many things, and then once you start getting real experience under your belt, your mind changes. I don't really like active cleansers, I don't really like foaming cleansers. That's something that when I first started my business, like, I was giving a foaming gel cleanser to every single one of my clients, and now I'm like, "Never mind." Remember when I said that? Yeah, I changed my mind.
I think it's healthy,
Or
though.
yeah, exactly, and if I wasn't changing my mind, then I'm not growing and I'm not learning.
Mhm,
So, I do have to remind myself of that. I mean, I'm a different esthetician now than I was 7 or 8 years ago, like, when I first opened my business. I know a lot more.
mhm.
So, another thing would be gosh, like, can you think of anything? I feel like we always talk about stuff like this, like,
I know.
what we
I
don't
think
believe in or what we do.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that would, like, ring in my head would be the fact that I'm okay with changing. Because I think that in the
Yeah,
beginning, I wanted to be very firm in my belief systems and being like, "No, this is how I do things," and, like, had no like, a very rigid thought process on it, and I think learning and growing is me being like, "No, it's okay to, like, think differently or learn something that makes me change my mind or have an experience," like you said, work with somebody and I'm like, "Oh, wow, that was, like, complete opposite of what I thought was gonna happen."
yeah, so true. That is a really good point. I feel like in business, I have so much experience now that I just do things differently. I'm not as strict, I'm not as rigid, I'm a lot more fluid, and I'm a lot more case by case with my policies and with
That
my
too, me too.
rules.
I talked on the podcast with another person about that of like, I feel like almost too much structure there is like a turn off to clients. I think that we're all human beings and I think when I don't want to be treated like a robot when my clients reach out to me and go like I need to get it now or this Tuesday at 10 a.m. or I don't want to be treated like a robot, therefore I don't want to treat my clients that way, you know?
Yeah, that's such a good point. The rigidity of it all. We were taught that in school though, like they
Mhm.
really drilled it into us. Like, for example, your cancellation policy. Like, if you don't charge people for your cancels, you're going to lose money. I don't.
Yes.
I mean,
I
I'm
know.
very generous and understanding with my clients, like whether they have a sick kid at home or whatever. People have stuff going on.
Mhm.
One thing that I always like to sorry, we're going off on such a tangent, but
No,
I
but I
always
love it.
think like, "Okay, do I wanna be right or do I wanna be liked?" Like, I can be right because it's in my policies that you have to cancel this amount of time beforehand, or I can be liked. Like, what's gonna get me
Yeah.
further?
Yes, and that's the biggest thing is I think this kind of goes to learning your demographic too and like how your community works. And in our
Yeah.
community specifically, I think that being liked is better and not being too hard and rigid and things because
Mhm.
unfortunately, there really is an esthetician all over the place. Like, there's plenty of people to choose from.
True,
And some
yeah.
clients do like kind of abusing the system and jumping and hopping ship all the time. Whereas I'd rather build a clientele that we respect each other equally and we can be a little bit more free with those boundaries and not so rigid, like you said.
Yeah. Like, that the client that you're dealing with, if it's like a habit, that's one thing, but
Hmm.
yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
and when
try
it crosses that line to disrespect, you're like, okay, this is when
exactly,
we're going to be a little
yes.
bit more on
Yeah.
the mark with those policies. This is actually also kind of on par with what we've been talking about. What is a mistake you made early in your career that changed how you practice today?
Oh my god, so many things.
I know, right? I'm like, oh, the list.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot. I would say, Well, one thing that really comes to mind is I used to try and be so quick to respond to every
Mm.
issue that I would overcorrect sometimes. I would over apologize. I would do things quickly when in reality it would have been better if I had thought about it for a little bit more. But when you're new and you're thinking about customer service or like being there for your clients, I think haste was like at the top of my mind. But now I take a little bit more time to thoughtfully handle the situation and make sure, like, okay, what's in their best interest and what's in my best interest, and really make them feel seen and heard. And luckily, I don't really ever have too many issues. But, like, for example, like a package gets lost in the mail or something like that. Like, I got to figure out a way to make that right.
Mhm.
And instead of responding as quickly as I used to, like, I take a little bit more time and I think about all the possible options that I have and how I can make it better for them and what would be the best for both of us.
Mhm.
When in the past, like, I'd be like, "Oh my god, I don't know. I can't even think of something," but I overcorrect, and sometimes
Mhm.
it ends up not being the right thing for either one. So,
Yeah, that's a good point.
I just take my
And
time now. I take my
I
time.
think that's a good lesson because I think that it's kind of funny how it's almost like the opposite of what you would think, right? When you're new and you kind of have a lot of free time, we do things a little bit quicker and like with haste and like panic almost of just like
Yes,
trying to make sure
panic.
everything's perfect, everything's right. And then as you get kind of getting further into your business, you're like, well, nothing's ever perfect. So like why am I stressing about it? And I still have a lot of anxiety over mishaps or things that have come up or things that I'm nervous about or certain situations, but I do agree with you that I think that taking a moment and a beat to just kind of process things or even reach out to like an SD friend or mentor
Yeah.
and just be like, "Hey, how would you approach this?" And I've even responded before that and then kind of had to backpedal. Wait, I just talked to somebody else and that makes so much more sense. And I said it makes sense. And it's just kind of those things that you learn. And I feel like also working with the right clientele makes that whole process a lot easier and less
Yeah.
stressful. But you live and you learn.
Yeah, totally. It's like that thing of where you're like writing out a text and then you send it to your friend. You're like, "Should I say this?" And they're like, "Well,
Yeah.
you could say that, but you could also say it like this because,
Hmm.
that might come off this way." Or it's
Yeah.
better to just take a beat, like you said. Yeah, and think it through a little bit more so you can
Hmm.
really do your clients like the best service and also look out for yourself and make sure you have all your
Yeah.
bases covered and make sure.
And I think it's better, like you said, to like kind of respond with a clear mind instead of that panicky kind of
Yeah.
like, let me fix this moment.
Yeah, and that brings me to one of my favorite things, my work phone, which I know you
Mm.
have one too. It's so much
Mhm.
better because it's there for them, that number they can text, and I will take care of it when I get back to work the next day. Not at 6
Boundary.
PM when I just after, 6 clients, like, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I need to sleep on this, and I'll get back to it.
Yeah. Not to say that I like am rude to my clients, but I might be bitchier to assert like a cancellation or like
Yeah,
a that maybe they're a little rude and I want to be snippy back. Like
I'm a different
there's
person.
yes, there's different moments and different times and the separation is huge. I totally agree. And also just like it feels more businessy for all of my business things to be in one place instead of like kind of mixing that personal aspect and the
Mhm.
business aspect and just gets messy on your phone. It's kind of nice to literally sever and separate the
Yeah,
2.
I think it's smart too for, like, legal reasons. I mean, God forbid, but I think it's smart to just have it all in one place,
Yeah,
all your
absolutely.
communications through one device.
That's the
Um,
same reason that I'm pretty strict on my text, DM, or email me because I love having a receipt for things. What can be
yeah.
said over the phone can be misconstrued, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, very true, and that was also a problem that I had. I used to be on Instagram constantly, and a lot of DMs would come in about this or that, and they would DM me about more serious things, like, for example, a package going missing in the mail. That's just, like, something that happens sometimes, and that would go through DMs. Wherever I was at the time that I opened that DM, I'm like, "Dang it. I need to remember to take care of this when I get back to work."
That
Now,
part too.
Instagram's only on my work phone.
But it's hard. We juggle a lot as business owners. It's kind of nice to like, I'm only answering this when I'm in the right mindset and not trying to have to remember or set a reminder or whatever it may be in the moment when you're trying to like enjoy your personal life.
Yeah, and they don't realize, they think, "Oh, just one quick question." You and my other
Hmm.
500 and something clients, like.
Exactly. Yeah, if I had 4, no problem. That's
Yeah.
never the case. That's not a successful business's case. Okay, so, what is one thing that you wish more estheticians understood in our about our industry? Getting maybe a new SD getting out of beauty school, coming into the industry, what do you think you wish that they kind of default know? Because, like, we kind of know that there's a lot missed or not gone over in beauty school.
Yeah, so I think that there's no rule book for
Mhm.
being an esthetician. I mean, we have state board, but when it comes to skin, and I'm sure when it comes to brows too, there's so many ways to do things that can provide you with an incredible result. And just because somebody does something one way and you do it another doesn't mean that they're right and you're wrong or vice versa.
Mhm.
There's so many ways to do this job. And there's so many ways to get an incredible result. And like whether that's in business or like actually working on your client's skin or brows, your experience is your greatest teacher.
Mhm.
And it's just important to remember that we all do things differently and we
And I
can
think
get.
it serves the client better too, right? You know what I mean? Like, I think that in the same way we don't all have, I don't know, the same friends, if you will. Like, there's a reason that certain people gravitate to certain people. And I think it's the same way, even not the service provider themselves, their personality, but literally how they do things. And I think that's a good way to like community over competition. There's so many of us doing different things that maybe how I do it is not what the client's brows or skin or they as a person need.
Yeah, personal preference too. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I know I've been really good about not being on Instagram lately, but one thing that I see is if your esthetician doesn't do massage, it's not because she's results oriented, it's because she doesn't want to. And it's so funny because that is true. I'm very clear about that.
Yeah.
I don't want to do massage, but I also get a lot of really good feedback about that from my clients. And they're just like,
Yes.
I just want to come here for a treatment. I want to improve my skin. Like, that's what I want to focus on. That makes me feel relaxed. Even the
Yeah.
extractions are relaxing experience for them because they feel like they're getting something done. And that's my personality
And
too. Like, I'm not a relaxer. Okay. I'm just not. I'm a Virgo. I'm a
yeah.
firstborn daughter. Like, I want to get shit done.
Look, I love you, but your threading game, it's giving Pinterest fail. Stop torturing your clients and yourself with made up techniques. My hand tied threading course is where you actually learn how to do it right. Perfect tension, painless technique, and brows that could cut glass. It's online, self paced, and will have you feeling like the threading queen you were meant to be. Go click the link in the show notes. Your clients' faces will thank you. Yes. No, that's such a good point. I don't think that's talked about enough because I think that especially like the beauty school thing, right? Like we're taught the facials and like, oh, this is how you do the steps and like yada yada. And we're definitely not taught different to like navigation of how to do them or different paths on
Yeah.
how to do a facial. And I do find that one to be like kind of a hot topic, but you're so right that there's not everyone. I don't find it. The other thing too is I think that some people have like a little bit, I know I do, but like you have like that little bit of anxiety of like, I don't really want to like fall asleep here or like be like so deeply relaxed that I'm in that zone. Like I just want the
Yeah.
facial. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how some people
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, I know. And it's funny. I think that there's a time and a place for all the different styles of facials or brows or whatever services.
Yeah.
Like you said, we're all just different and we attract our own tribe or clientele or whatever. Like, it's nice that we all do something a little different. Like, that's what makes
I
us
agree.
unique.
Yeah, could you imagine how boring it would be if there was like how would you choose if everyone was doing exactly the same thing exactly the same way? Like, I don't know, I just feel
I
like it would
know.
be boring and it wouldn't be about the actual service or the service provider anymore. It would just be like what's in my budget or who's closest to me. Like, you know what I mean? It would be the things that don't matter as much and not like the actual
Mhm.
important parts of the business.
Yeah, I'm not AI. I'm not a
Yeah,
robot.
exactly.
Like,
I'm not Gmail trying to like send email. You know what I mean? Like it's not
yeah, like, totally.
there's a personal aspect. Okay, so I feel like you're really good about this and kind of talking about like the phone separation and different things like that. But how do you handle those seasons when you're like really booked and busy and feeling like a little bit of burnout? We actually talked about this recently, I think, at lunch.
Yeah, we love talking about burnout. When I am really, really booked and busy, I kind of just focus on that. I'm like, okay, I'm going to show up. I'm going to give my clients 100%, take really good notes, just focus on that. And I just let everything else, social media is not that important to me, at least. It can fall on the back burner. Like, as long as like my clients are being taken care of, that's good.
Love that. And I think that's kind of underrated. I don't think enough like, I know I'm not doing that enough. I have this weird relationship with social media where I really feel like there's something missing if I'm not consistent and, like, my account's gonna magically fall off and not be, like, I don't know, as
Yeah.
functional. But you're right, at the end of the day, if you are booked and busy and so burnt out and tired because everything's running really well, why
You
not
don't
just
need
show
the
up for your
social media.
clients?
I
Yeah.
struggle with that as well. I think, like, it's so hard for us to attach, like, everything to our social media, but I don't think it's as important as I've created it to be in my mind.
Yeah.
I am
Mhm.
doing a little social experiment right now where I don't post on Instagram. I'm gonna see, like, really how much it brings to my business,
I'm
but
excited, and we did talk about this too, about how you're kind of stepping more into the old school style of marketing and more like, I don't know, what pounding the pavement kind of thing where you're doing things within the community and like the billboard and different stuff like that that isn't talked
yeah.
about enough. Like everyone's constantly pushing social media, but I think we're also at kind of a stage in life where we're all kind of sick and tired of being sold to on social
Dude, it's a
media.
pendulum, I swear. 2020 was, like, heavy on the social media. TikTok was, like, popping off. Instagram was
Mhm.
something completely different, and now I think we're all getting really fed up with AI. I'm
Mhm.
scared of it. The advertisements, the way
Yes.
it's just I
It's
mean, don't get me wrong.
everywhere.
I obviously love parts of it. I love certain
Mhm.
aspects or things that AI provides, but Instagram just seems like it's, like, a constant, like, AI loop. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
trying to do old school marketing. I have my brochures. I made pens for my clients with my website and phone number. And then I also just have clients that talk about me and
That
talk about it
part.
here. That
I
part.
think that's the most underrated part about marketing, especially in
Mhm.
smaller communities. I know that larger cities, it's a lot harder to like build an entire business off of word of mouth, but I think it's more doable than people realize. And I think it depends on like what capacity. If you have a full team, it might be a different situation. But for both of us, we're the sole provider. We're the only person in our business, and I can only handle so many clients. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you're starting out, it doesn't seem that you're going to hit that number. It feels very like far away, and oh my god, I need to
Yeah.
get more and more and more. But once you get there, you're like, I actually can't handle that many people well, like doing my job
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And I think word of mouth can be really strategically smart.
Yeah. Totally. And it's so much more authentic.
Yeah. And I know that I'm getting my recommendations that way. If I'm going to ask a friend before I'm going to Google a service provider.
Yeah. For sure. 100%.
And then it's kinda nice when you get the referral and then you can Google, "Oh, they do have good reviews. Oh, my friend's, like, giving me" you know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
everything as a whole comes together really well, but I think that it's nice to sprinkle your focus around instead of diving fully into one section of marketing.
Yeah, and actually, now that you mention it, one way that I do find myself, like, getting a lot of clients is just other beauty professionals being like, "Oh, have you gone to
Yeah.
Molly yet?" Like, like, I have clients that are hairdressers,
Mhm.
like, I have clients that are, like, realtors and things like that, and we're all just, like, very social, like, people, and we just, like, talk, and we're
Yeah.
also the type of people that our clients, like, really trust us for our recommendations, so, like, if somebody's gonna ask
Mhm.
me, like, "Oh, where would you go for Botox?" or, like, "Where would you go for brows?" Like, I
Yes.
have a person.
And I'm
So
sticking
we're
with my
all just
person,
kind of
I've stayed with my person.
yeah, we're just, like, a network.
Yes. Yeah, I love that aspect of the community building and networking in that degree. And it's funny because at the beginning it's kind of awkward sometimes. Now being in it 10 years in, I'm like, that's my favorite part is building those friendships and those aspects. And I love referring. I love when a client asks, I'm like, oh my God, let me tell you everything about them. I
Yeah, I'm
love them
like,
and I would not go
"How
anywhere
long do you have?"
else. Yes, right. Exactly. That's kind of going to bring us to another question. What is the hill you're willing to die on when it comes to beauty or business?
Oh my gosh, I feel like I have a lot, Megs.
I know, I feel like you're really good about this. I was
Dude,
excited
I
to
have
ask you.
such strong opinions and I'm very outspoken about some of them. I'm willing to die on the hill that dermaplaning is a method of hair removal, not a skin treatment.
With you on that. I could not agree more.
I
I
know
like
you and
I'm like, I have
I love
nothing against the modality, but, like, put it where it's supposed to be. Like, put it in
yeah,
the
put it in
correct
the category that
category.
it should be in.
Mhm.
I'm willing to die on the hill that you don't need to cleanse your face twice a day. You can do it at night. Not everybody, like that's not true for like
No,
like very severe acne sufferers and rosacea clients. I would recommend twice a day, but I'm willing to die on that hill. I'm
I
willing to
agree.
die on the hill that I think people are so obsessed with like cleanliness sometimes, and it's a little bit
Mhm.
misguided. And I think it can cause more issues. Our
I
skin is
agree.
our barrier. It's designed, I think I said this in the last podcast too, but it's designed to protect you And I think sometimes with like all the marketing, oh, you need to buy this for your skin. You need to buy this to get your skin extra clean. You need to get this supplement to help this. Like we forget how our body is such a specialized system that does a really good job. And our skin,
Yes.
especially, it's our protective barrier and it doesn't need to be sterile. It's doing a fine job. Yes, we have acne. Yes, we can have like pigmentation and we can have irritations and things like that, but we want to work with the skin, and I think
Mhm.
over cleansing is a big issue for a lot of people.
I agree, and I think the funny thing is I know that we can, like, take things to help our gut or whatever, but we're never overhauling things to make our organs work better. I think it's the skin that gets
Yeah,
the most,
it's
like,
smarter
we're
than we
not
know.
doing I know Yes, exactly. It's a well-oiled machine, it doesn't need that much assistance.
Exactly, and there's profit, there's financial gain for companies tricking you into thinking that you
Mhm.
need to buy something to make your body operate efficiently when it already does it for you. Like, unless your doctor is
Yes.
like, "We need to put you on dialysis or something," your kidneys are detoxing you.
Yeah.
You don't need to do a detox drink or whatever.
Tea or
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Tea, yeah.
Well, and I think
There's
the
so
other
many
thing is
things
that
out there.
Right. I think the other thing too is if you're being marketed to in any way, shape, or form, it is not with your best interest at heart. They're trying to sell you something. And I think we forget that sometimes where we're like, oh my God, I need that. And it's like, you don't actually.
Yeah, less is more.
Yes. Tell me about a moment in your career where you were like, I actually did that. I'm here. I've made it.
Wow.
I think it's a moment you kind of feel over and over again in different calibers and degrees, but
Yeah, I know, and sometimes the things that made me feel so excited back then just don't hit the same now.
I
I don't
completely
know, there
agree.
is so many things, there's so many little things, like,
Little things. Yeah.
it was really cool, when I got asked to be an ambassador for Face Reality, but now, like, I've evolved past that, and I'm like, "Oh, that's
Yeah.
not who I am anymore." But that was I
Yeah.
was very proud about that. I was really proud when I got my billboard too, it ain't cheap. So,
No,
that was cool, and it was on my vision board, and then
I think that's a big one
yeah,
too, is, like, having the plan and then reaching it. I feel like it's almost not a easy thing to just be like, "Oh, this happened and then I felt that way." I don't think that it's one specific thing that was like, "I've made it." It's almost a million little things, and then you hit it, and then you want more, and you keep hitting those, and I think that the best way to be successful is to keep pushing it instead of just being, like, plateauing, I guess.
totally, yeah.
Okay. What is one thing you would never do again in your business? Like, that you did and you're like, "That's a hard no."
Be an ambassador for a brand. That's not
I love that full circle. It was a
yeah.
really cool accomplishment, but at the same time, don't do that.
I know. It was a segue. I will warn other beauty professionals about this too. I mean, it's obviously an honor to be asked by one of the brands that you sell to be an ambassador for them, but we have to think about it this way, like, and maybe I already said this to you or I said this on the podcast or something. We spend so much money,
Mhm.
promoting like on these companies. And whether we do like photo shoots or we're doing like education for other estheticians and we're like using this brand and we're kind of attaching our name to it, what we're doing
Yeah.
is building that brand up and they don't always reciprocate. I mean, they probably will never
They
reciprocate it to us.
rarely
So
do.
just be
Yeah.
very wary about, attaching your name to a brand because at any time they can change, or even them not changing. Like at the end of the day, like I'll just use myself as an example with Face Reality. I like really built my business and built them up a lot, and now they're a huge company. When I started with them, they were I'm not saying that that was me that did that, but,
No, you were a part of
then
it, yeah.
a lot of my clients are going to me for Face Reality, and now I'm like, "Oh, I don't sell Face Reality anymore." They're just gonna go find another Face Reality esthetician, some of them, not all of them, and that's fine, but
Yeah.
I do wanna warn other beauty professionals about that because if you're always, like, taking photos with their products and saying, like, "This was this brand," like, "This was this brand," you're building their business and not yours, so just
Ugh.
think about that a little bit.
Well, and I think that at the end of the day, if my business is about curating results for my clients and making it cherry picking, right? Like I think once as we get to a certain point, obviously at the beginning it's very easy to be dialed and to learn one thing really good and then move on from there. But I think as you get deeper into your career, you're like, no, I like this and I like that and I love this, but I don't love one whole thing for everything. And I think it makes
Yeah.
us better. It serves our clients better. And I want I built this business. I don't want to be promoting anyone other than me, and, like, I had a similar experience with another brand. I dove all in, I went real hard, and it was, like, the only thing I was using for everything, and it gets
Mhm.
mixed, and you feel like, "Oh, we're in this together," and it's just so far from the truth.
Yeah, they're not in it for you. They never are.
No. No. And, like, either way,
Yeah.
they're gonna make their money, right? Like, I mean, I still
Yeah.
support them in the way that I purchase products from them, but beyond that,
Mhm.
that's it. That's all they're getting from me.
Yeah, I'm not hiring a photo or a photographer to do photos. I'm not making, graphics. This is another thing that I spent a lot of time and money on is making graphics with their product. It's just
Or they steal it from you and they use your photos or they use your
oh,
social
yeah.
media, and it's like,
Yeah,
that's for me.
they've used my before and after pictures, they've used, like,
Mhm.
a lot of the things that I have said have been used in trainings and stuff, and I'm like, "Wait, I mean, I know that's not groundbreaking information, but that's what I said word for word."
Mhm. Mhm. It's so true. It's frustrating, honestly, especially when you get
Mhm.
to a certain level, you're like, 0 compensation or acknowledgement. You're like, "That's rude." I think that would irk
Yeah,
anyone, honestly.
yeah,
So I feel like in your business now, you've grown and like we're talking about skincare brands and selling products and things like that. And retail is a huge portion of any business really. And I feel having your online store and everything kind of gives you a certain level of, I wouldn't say like complete freedom, but you do get a little bit more freedom having like your income not solely tied to seeing people in person. What is the
yeah.
most unhinged or luxurious thing you've done with your extra time that you've gotten from that?
Oh my gosh. I can do so many things I feel so grateful for. You know, like right now it's a Monday. I don't work today. I had brunch with a I know that none of that's unhinged, but like it
No.
is so cool. I popped in here. I'm packing a couple orders. I'm going to run them to the post office after this. It's like a beautiful day. You know, like I feel so free, but I also feel so like obsessed with my job that
Yeah.
I'm like, am I free? Do this is
Right?
fun, right?
Is that a flex or
Yeah.
that's the hard part, honestly, about being in this as long as we both have. I find myself either praising or complaining about certain things, and then I almost feel I need a dose of reality where I wish I could go take a shift at a random job for 8 hours and be reminded
Dude,
of how great my job is.
sometimes I think about just conducting a little social experiment for myself and, like, seeing if I could work. I was not a
Work
good employee. I've shared that
me either,
very
I say that
publicly.
all the time.
Yeah, I was not a good employee, so I'm like, with the knowledge that I have now, I've been people's boss before and I've been an employee before, would I be better or is it just me? Am I just bad at following other people's instruction?
I think that's me, I'm just bad at being an
Yeah.
employee. I love that. I think that is a flex, you know what I mean? Like, loving your job so much that you're like, "Wow, no, I really couldn't do anything else."
Yeah. I'm made for this.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was such a fun episode. I almost feel like I like this better than my first one. Well, I know that my listeners will really love this, and I appreciate you coming on. All right, guys, season 3 is done, which is insane. I can't believe I'm even saying that. But I wanted to come on. I don't know that I've really done an outro of the season or giving you guys a little bit of a taste of what's next, what's to come, and kind of to go back. I feel like this was a great way to finish the season with a guest. This season we did things a little bit differently. I had a lot more guests on, which was so much fun. I know that when I'm looking at podcasts, I love a good conversation rather than somebody rattling off information. And it's just so fun. It feels like you're FaceTiming with your friends. I find myself even just shouting out responses when I'm listening to those because it feels like you're there. And that's always the goal of this podcast. You know, Browducation should feel like you're just FaceTiming with your SD friends or Cosmo friends or beauty professional friends. And it's allowed me to meet such incredible people. I'm so grateful for what this podcast has provided. It's led me to really good friends in the industry. It's gotten me to have really cool conversations with people that I probably wouldn't have the chance to chat with, especially long format like this. And then the best part of all is being able to share it with you, right? You know, I get to have these things, I get to do these things, and I get to turn and share all of it with my listeners. And I wouldn't be here doing this if it weren't for you. I am so grateful. I will say that this season I put in so much effort and time. I wanted it to be nothing but the absolute best. Curated questions a little bit more specifically and I structured the season more specifically and I really just brought my all. And I am so, so proud of what I've built and everything that has come from it and come fruition from the podcast itself in season 3 more specifically. But unfortunately, with all of that comes a little bit of burnout. And, I wish in a perfect world I was just podcasting all the time. That would be so, so much fun. But I don't know that it would fill my plate totally. So that's why it's always a part time passion. And when I'm in it, I am full time. You know what I mean? I really like to give you guys my all, like I said I did with season 3, but it's brought a little bit of burnout. So I really like to bring honest conversation, honest guests, and honest opinions. And as I do that with guests and episodes, I also want to do that with just transparency on how I'm feeling about the podcast. And I have no desire to completely wrap up and close shop. So Browducation will be here and it will come back when I'm feeling it, but my creativity feels a little low. I don't feel like I have as much to say. We've got, so many episodes of me yapping and giving you my insights and my opinions and all these different things. And I think I need a pause to refill that cup so that I can come back to you for season 4, like really ready and with my full energy and, bringing my best. And I just feel like at this point, I don't really have that to bring to you. So it's with a heavy heart that I take a pause on Browducation just for a little bit. But the best part is that these podcasts live on forever, right? So there's tons of episodes. I hope that you've listened to all of them, but maybe if you haven't, it's time to go back and listen to previous episodes. My plan is to continue sharing clips and things like that on the podcast Instagram when I can and when I'm able. But as I said, I want to make sure that when I'm creating and developing and designing the podcast, that it's coming from 100% and no other. I don't want to half-ass it. That's kind of just not my thing. So as we close out season 3, I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for listening. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for following along. I genuinely am so grateful and I never could let this go. So you'll see me back here. Education will continue and I'm super excited for what's to come, but we're back to the drawing board a little bit. I want to see what's working and what's not. So if you have any um advice, comment on anything, I am all open to hear everything. I think we're kind of just zooming out, looking at the bigger picture, and then we'll come back in and fine tune when we're ready. So I, again, appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. Brow Education wouldn't be what it is without you. So give it all a listen. Make sure to go back and share with a brow friend or a beauty professional friend. And thank you for being here.